Welcome to Dicejunkies, and this is Perception Check, and I'm here with
Q.
and I'm Xenodamus. Hope you enjoy it. So this week there was a interview with Square Enix president and CEO Yosuke Matsuda. I probably butchered that, but I'll link the interview in the description below. But anyway, it was a lot of talk about the modernization of video game titles, and a subject came up, and I saw a couple of articles that wrote about this particular question, and so with it, it brought up a discussion between me and Q, and I wanted to sort of talk about it some. The question was, in terms of style of storytelling specifically, older games, not just from Square Enix, or even just Japanese titles, could be problematic with their portrayal of female characters and minorities and LGBT issues. Is that something you purposely look at now? Because modernizing a genre can mean many things, not just updating gameplay. So basically, talking about a lot of the older games, we've seen a lot of, reboots, remakes of a lot of older games, and they brought up the concept of the female characters, minorities, and LGBT issues, which has become a mainstream thing right now as a hot topic, I guess. And how this affects modernizing games to meet the current
The current concept that everything has to be unusually inclusive, even if it's not realistically representing a demographic.
Yes, that exactly. Not at all the way they would have this person worded it, but pretty much.
They probably would have worded it by crying and going, "You're not putting enough women and LGBT in your game."
Now, he responded with, I think certainly you have to think about those kind of things, and obviously there are differences in culture, perceptions, and societies that you sell them in, and there will be those variations across the world, but we want to sell our games worldwide, and we're trying to appeal to a global audience here, so that's obviously something we are having to think more and more about and going forward in the future. But of course, within that, you've got to leave your own stamp, your own character on these things, and getting that balance right is something that I think is a very difficult question to get right now. So I think he pretty much said, well, in the West, but not all of us are that concerned about it. I mean, that's what I sort of heard from that. I mean, he sort of danced around it a little bit.
Well, speaking from the position of a minority, I played a lot of games where they don't have black characters, and there are not a lot of black characters. And you know what? I generally don't care. The only time I get annoyed about a game with no black characters is when it's set in a modern, realistic setting, where I can actually go, like, pretty sure there's some black people in New York. You're like, it's weird we don't see any. Well, yeah. Or when I'm playing a game where I create my character. I do like the option to create a black character. Beyond that, though, it doesn't bug me.
Well, yeah, and I think this is definitely not an issue when we look at games like Skyrim and stuff like that, where you actually get the ability to
make your own character. But when it's a game that's pre-made, no. I mean, I played Final Fantasy 15. It was awesome. I didn't see a whole lot of them. None of the main characters were black. And honestly, I think it would have been kind of weird if one of them was. Just the way the whole kingdom worked, it would have been odd if it's like all these kind of, Asian looking and spiky hair characters, and then there's just like one black dude like, "Yo, what's up, man? Prince, how you doing?"
Final Fantasy, like, no. I know Final Fantasy 7.
Final Fantasy 7 has Barret in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there you go. That makes sense, though. They kind of went with a modern city. But I mean, it isn't necessary. And it gets even more extreme when you go to a smaller demographic. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think out of the minorities, black are one of the most numerous.
Yeah, well, what are you talking about?
When you get into LGBT territory, it's like, I'm not saying you shouldn't include characters, but you shouldn't also expect people to go overboard with every game they do because it's a smaller demographic.
That's another thing with LGBT. I mean, we've had issues like Mass Effect Andromeda with their NPC that was trans, where they didn't portray the trans the right or whatever. I think they used I can't think of the term, but they used his name from his
birth name.
His birth name.
I'm guessing now. I don't know if that's accurate.
I don't know, but apparently that's a faux pas and. From the article I read.
Really? You're telling me that in that space culture, set in that fantasy setting, on that new universe, that it's a faux pas?
Well, and that's
amazing how culture hasn't changed.
Yeah, and that's once again, that's another thing. I mean, most of these worlds we're talking about are fantasy. Honestly, I mean, we've predicted, several scientists have predicted in the future, the variation between colors will probably drop quite a bit because of mingling between races and so forth. And with that, you sort of lose racism anyway.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in all reality, in all honesty, the way they're saying, the way we keep mixing and stuff, eventually everybody's going to be a nice kind of light brown to dark brown color, and that'll be it. It really, or brownish, whatever other variation. There are going to be a whole lot of people that are going to just be, I don't know, we'll use the offensive word, racially pure. But that's the thing that gets me. It's like, I understand the desire for it. I thought Dragon Age Inquisition did a good job. I actually enjoyed it. And that's something coming from me because while I don't care about, I'm not offended or bothered by LGBT, at the same time, I also don't care. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
It's the same sentiment. It's your business.
Well, and I think that brings up a whole nother aspect of why do these things matter so much in the scheme of things. I mean, to me, gaming's always been about just a good story, good mechanics, good visuals, stuff like that. And I understand some you do want to diversify in the fact for immersion's sake, but at the same time, just for a lot of times it just seems these things are shoehorned in there to meet a quota. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to run long on it, but I will say this though. I do have to flip the script and go that I understand the immersion aspect, and at least in the sense of I prefer playing a male character because I have difficulty immersion as a female character. So I can understand people wanting to see something familiar. But what you got to understand too is that these are large companies. They're going to go to their demographic. What I think is missing in the gaming industry isn't large companies like Square Enix trying to rebuild the formula just to accommodate a minority. I think we need more LGBT game designers and if possible, even companies, more indie products, putting this out there and showing that it's good and getting it in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, because here's the thing, you just proved it with the statement of they apparently did their transgender character wrong. Well, you know why? Because they don't know. Yeah. They probably didn't have anybody transgender on their crew. You may go need to find out. You're not going to spend all day trying to learn everybody else's friggin' business. What you need more transgender people to
that's another problem when you look at you also look at character development, stuff like that. You probably develop the personality of at most around 100 characters in a video game. Then you start looking at percentages of each demographic for those to, and it gets hard to, I guess, to fill every shoe,
But that's the challenge that's going there. But it's not going to happen that you're going to see large companies, despite the large social justice warrior movement, large companies are not going to reinvent the wheel.
Well, I don't know how large the social adjustment movement is, as much as it's a vocal movement.
Either way, I don't think it's enough to move the game industry on its own. But I do believe that we have such great indie. Some of the best games are coming from indie designers. We need more LGBT designers to put out there to see if it works. You put out an LGBT-oriented game, and it makes a lot of money, you will change then all of a sudden, the big companies will start looking. Yeah. But it's got to prove it's profitable. Otherwise, they're not going to go too far into it.
We had this subject come up a while back with Gamergate and stuff as well, So, I mean, it's not like this is
that went out of control
relatively a new thing. And, back then, even a lot of people said, why don't we have more female protagonists? Well, prophets have showed female protagonists don't sell as well as male protagonists because
there's iconic female characters, but when you go numbers wise, there's also been a lot of games where they tried that and it went nowhere.
Yeah.
So the numbers just don't go that way.
Like you said with the trans and LGBT and so forth. Same thing with the women. A lot of times, most of these programmers are guys, and guys trying to program a female protagonist just doesn't seem real.
They don't always do a good portrayal.
A lot of times that immersion's just not there because it's not portrayed correctly. So, I mean, I think we need to see more diversity in the development community and less trying to shoehorn stuff in.
And for the finale, one of the biggest challenges, if you're going to get where this all comes in, is also its culture. Mm-hmm. This is not by far saying this is an absolute, but we're going again by numbers. And in general, the majority of video games, even what you're doing in a game, is a male fulfillment fantasy more often than it is a female fulfillment fantasy. Not meaning that there aren't female gamers that love doing those things. It's just saying that there's a larger percentage of male gamers that enjoy doing those things. So they tend to make male protagonists for immersion purposes. Mm-hmm.
Well, and once again, mostly males are creating the games,
mm-hmm.
so that's why you have that type of fulfillment. Once again, if we want diversity in games, I think we need diversity in programming, and there's no way we're going to get that until that becomes more appealing and we see more diversity there. I don't know how to get more diversity behind the computer screen programming games. This is an issue. Google and so forth have had issues with this and have been trying to figure out how to do diversity in the tech fields for a while, and it's not an easy solution.
I think they pick on the companies too much of that, though. You first of all, they got to be people from a demographic that want to do the job. They got to freaking go out there and want to do it.
Well, no, honestly, it's going to have to start at the college level more so than the corporation level, because the corporation is trying to pick people out of college, already chose basically that career path. It's the choice to take that career path that makes it hard to diversify as a company.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like I said, my solution I'm gonna pop out there is we need more indie. Indie is where you start at. Show them that these games can make the money, and you'll see the big guys start to move in your favor.
Yeah, and it's a great time for indie. We look at Steam constantly full of indie titles, so forth. So yeah, I know that's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. So. All right, well, I think that's it on this topic. Look, thanks for watching. If you have a different opinion, let us know in the comments. If you think we're completely wrong, put it in there. You think we're right, or you just have a modification. We'd love to hear from you and know your opinion. And hey, guys, thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.